I will start just straight from introducing the tools and what functionality you have here. In general, when you install it, you will have a separate tab in Revit. You can bring it out of all of the tabs and have it as a separate menu here, or you can keep it there where it is. It's according to your needs. And pretty much it's very intuitive. As you see all of the functions here, there is not much to talk about them basically. So I will just start doing this. And first of all, placing rebars with a distribution light. When you select an option like this, you need to specify, first of all, manually bar mark. If it's in a segment position like bar mark P101, then I would just click on plus sign so it creates a next free position. Revision numbers, we don't have any revisions since it's a new project here. And the shape code. So basically when you specify the shape code of the rebar, the picture changes. And as well, if you specify something else, for example, I'm selecting a straight rebar and I'm saying I will add hooks on it. You see that the hooks are being applied to the picture, so it's pretty easy to see what actually changes you're making graphically. Yeah. So for example, no hooks in this bar, diameter 12, let's leave it that way. Let's specify the length of the rebar, saying 3 meters. And now let's say I want to include head arrows for the tag, and I want to specify the bar end. So for example, if I will create this bar as nearest rebar, I would choose this one. So it will have respective symbols in the end of the bars. If I choose both vertical, for example, both horizontal dimensions, the rebar will look accordingly to this. So let's say I'm choosing nearest for this part, specifying center distance 200, let's make it 300 maybe, and let's click on place. So now the rebar shape is being generated. I need to specify the distribution line along it, and here I have it. So when I have specified rebar, of course, I'll go into the details a little bit later. Selecting the tag, putting it somewhere here, changing the tag location, let's say here. So you see this bar end is being changed, and then you have a symbol in the end of the tag which is saying that this is the nearest side of the rebar. If I go back here and distributing rebars, saying a new position, unlocking the length, saying let's say 10 meters, and let's say I will specify that the placement is both sides, for example, and place one more. You will see that the symbol was created indicating that it's the rebar in the both sides, and as well as tag is saying this. So one more time, I can move the tag here, just changing this location to a manual multiplication, and I have it there. So you can double click always the tag and you can change some parts of it. For example, you can change the bar diameter here or some bar marks or etc. So you can do it directly into this menu. Or you have other additional options, which is called revise bar. I will talk about it a little bit later. So let's say we have drawn some rebar. This is being drawn so far as just the 2D symbols. So basically, if I select this one, you see that this is a symbol of the rebar. I have some properties here, for example, saying offset, the one which you could use, for example, for cover settings and etc. Some other parameters. And for example, when I select this rebar, you see that I have these arrow grips. So basically, if I change this, you see the amount of the rebar is being changed. I can lock these arrows using, for example, something which is called align, saying go here, shape handle, lock it, you see the number of element changes, and when I do this, basically now my rebar will follow the external geometry, so for example surface of the wall or something like this. So even though it's a 2D symbol, you can make it logical sort of living model. If you change your geometry, the rebar will follow, the quantities will be updated. Other functions you have here. Let's say placing a rebar in an elevation. In this case, I will create a new shape. For example, selecting angled bar, saying 800 millimeters by 800. These are the diameters. I will say that it's arbitrary, so no end marks will be generated for this element. Center distance, let's say, yeah, multiplicator 20. And let's place it, for example, in this corner somewhere here. I can create one more shape. New position, for example, with hooks in this case. Yep, place it there in the other side. And upon placing, I can click on the spacebar, which basically rotates the element all around. When I place it, I can still use these blue arrows to flip the rebar if I want to, or move it, modify its location, place, and etc. Getting back to more functionality, you have possibility to place a rebars in a section. So you can place one rebar, for example, if it would be, I don't know, section of a column. So placing a rebars in the edges of the column, or placing bars with a distribution line. So for example, I could pick already existing position. When I pick already existing one, the dimensions is being locked already. So saying center distance 300, that's fine for me, and clicking on place. So then I need just to specify the location line of the elements, and I will have all of the rebar placed here, showed and tagged. Again, further on, I can select this tag, which is showing the rebar. Maybe I can place it somewhere else and say, okay, free end, indicate this bar, for example, or etc. So possibilities to specify the rebar. Other functions you have here, just in general showing some more functionality. For example, if I place a rebar in new position, let's say P104, and a rebar like this. For example, I will change one parameter A to 1 meter and say place the rebar. I just change the parameter that the bar wouldn't be a symmetrical one. So if I place this rebar here, you will see it in the elevation view. As well, here I have possibility to place a rebar in a plane. So when I do this, the same rebar will be placed, P104, just in a plane view. So if I do that, you will see that I use the same existing position. And here you see every X sign indicating every bend of the rebar. So basically, as you see it here, it's not being created just in random positions. It's actually representing every bend and which exact place it has to be. Furthermore, if I would create, for example, already again existing position P102, I have a possibility to specify angle, for example, 30 degrees, and place this rebar with an angle, as well as placing the same rebar in the plan view with an angle of 30 degrees. So here you go, you will see the same X sign again indicating the bend of the rebar. Other functionalities here you have is running meter. So this is more or less a workaround for this version. It was one of the last features introduced before releasing the product. And this will be developed and it will be better in the new versions. But what you have two possibilities here, creating a symbol and then creating a tag. So first of all, you can generate a running meter tag. So saying that you will use a new position, for example, for this. And the length of the rebar will be 12 meters, the straight length of the rebar. And then the total length of the rebar, let's say, will be 40 meters. It has a overlap value, so you can call it delta value. And let's just generate this. So clicking here, placing the rebar, and it generates the tag. As you can see here, this tag contains all of the data about the rebar, that it's slope emitter and so on, but it doesn't contain the symbol. It's again due to Revit's API limitation somehow is you cannot just create a proper symbol for loop emitter. But a workaround for this is you can click here to this running meter symbol, specifying scale, placement, let's say arbitrary, so I don't want these ends to be created. And just place this symbol somewhere here. So as I have distributed it, I can adjust it if I wish, and place this tag as well, saying free end, saying here, for example. So this is a workaround kind of. First you generate a tag, and this tag will be taken into account. And this symbol, it's not related, the geometry of the symbol is not related actually to the tag. So you can manipulate with this symbol manually. You can even use the detail lines to create something there and then specify this tag on it. So this will be scheduled and taken into account, but the symbol will live its own life. Other good functionality with this running meter tag is, for example, in case if you have very complex geometry of the slab. I will run this with filled regions. Let's just create something nuts, for example, like this, and let's add a round opening in it. That would be rather difficult to create a straight bars for every element and just specify that this is a straight bar, one length, other length, third length, and etc. different positions. Instead of that, you can create an area like this, and once you have selected this area, you can click on this running meter tag, and you will see that, let's create a new position, and what you will see basically that it calculates the total running length. So if I change, for example, spacing, it will recalculate the total running length. So this total amount of reinforcement will be actually calculated for this area selected. So yeah, that's one of the other functionality which is very nice. For example, if you have two bars, exactly the same bars with the same positions, like P100 was a 3-meter straight bar. If I have another one, 3-meter straight bar created during the project, it will always ask you, saying that the geometry is exactly the same already existing with a position number. Do you want to use existing position one number, or you want to create a new one? So it basically tracks all of the rebars and rebar dimensions which you already have assigned as a position. So let's say I will click no, and then I will generate a new position. So P106. So this amount of reinforcement will be taken out from the area. Running further, you have one more possibility, last one, basically regarding the 2D symbols, which is called reinforcement text. When you click on this reinforcement text, you have possibility again to specify some kind of reinforcement, I don't know, let's say diameter, some kind of bar like this, place it, and then only the symbol or the tag will be generated, no reinforcement will be created, and this tag again will be taken into account into the schedules. So if you have some kind of specific situation, if you have some advanced shape of the rebar, or if you have something which cannot be identified with a standard shape code, you can do it again using a standard detail lines. For example, going to annotate and saying that you will create some kind of a detail line, I don't know, for bent rebars like this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you want to avoid that in the construction side, but anyway, let's say you have these things in some cases. So then you just use a detail lines to draw the element and specifying the tag, and then you know that this will be taken into account when you create a schedule. So this is just one part of the rebar tool. It's a 2D symbol part. So basically, it's a very fast, light tools, easy to use, easy to learn to generate the 2D reinforcement drawings. There is additional part which is called bar symbol from 3D. So if you have a situation like this, for example, if you have created a reinforcement using any of these extensions, you know that Revit, if you have a subscription, and all of you guys, I'm pretty sure you do, you have possibility to download extensions which can generate a 3D reinforcement in columns, beams, slabs, whatever you name it. And it can even check for actual interferences between reinforcement and create the report files for you and so on. So if you have this reinforcement created with these tools, or if you have used robots to calculate this reinforcement and send the reinforcement back into Revit, you will have an existing 3D reinforcement as a 3D model. So what you can do here, you can select these reinforcement bars all at once, which is not really recommended. You have more control when you do it one by one. That would be the proper workflow. Anyways, selecting the reinforcement and just hitting this button, bar symbols from 3D. Then it will ask you some questions. Do you want to place a tag? Do you want to have these arrows in the end of the tag? How the rebar should be placed? Is it a lower layer, upper layer, both layers, etc.? Do you want to add a comments? And then just clicking create. So the software will regenerate the rebar as a 2D symbols, as you see here. So basically what the software does, it just hides the 3D rebar from the view and generates exactly the same 2D symbol for this rebar. So you can see here again that it's spacing 200, that it's 31 rebar of 12 diameter and so on. So this is a very nice functionality. Again, it's still being developed. It's still getting better. For most of the elements, it works as it is, as you saw here now. So selecting a rebar, just clicking an element, then it converts it to a symbol. I'm moving now to a project example. Again, one of the projects done with this ISY CAD Rebar. It's coming from Norconsult, again, since they are the early implementers of the tool. This is kind of a demo project where you can see a small, simple structure with all of the rebar added here. So as you see, the sections, the rebars are being placed. So basically, this is a tool which you can use it right away, as you see here, with all of the different rebars. Once you have all of these rebars placed in the drawing and generated the model, you can go here, additional settings, and then you have one setting which is called bar schedules. Again, I'm not going into details. You can just administrate bar marks, etc. You have lots of options here to revise parameters of a bar mark, just clicking and saying, okay, I want actually to change the distance or the length of the rebar, and etc. But as I said, let's not go into details with these additional tools. One click here, bar schedule, and you have possibility to specify what kind of schedule you want to create. PDF, Word, Excel output is coming. For example, if you choose Word, you can choose several Word formats. So if I choose a PDF, I can choose then which reinforcement I want to export, entire model or only this active view. So let's say entire model in this case, and I will just click on create. So now it checks the whole Revit project for the rebar which was created using ISY CAD Rebar, and it will generate the reinforcement bending schedule. So you see it here, all of the lists have been created. In the very end, you will have an overview of reinforcement, so basically positions and rebar which was generated. So let's say 12 diameter bars and 16 diameter bars. This is the total amount and length and weight of the rebars you have. If you take a closer look, for example, at position V116, as for example, you see that it has a certain length of the rebars. And if I look here, you will see that actually the total length of the rebar, or the length here of one element, is a bit different than the values if you will take just the center line of the rebar. And then again, you see that it has a correction of the length of the rebar. So basically it calculates the length of the rebar according to the Norwegian standard, not just taking a simple center line and saying, okay, this will be the values used. Furthermore, all of these settings you see here, for example, corner stamps and etc., you can change. Basically, this is just Word template file which is placed in your computer. So you can go there, override, place your company logo, and you will have a proper schedule in the end. So that's pretty much about the functionality of the rebar itself. I'm jumping back to the PowerPoint slide and moving a little bit further. So yeah, subsummating, you can do 2D symbol part as well as convert 3D existing reinforcement to 2D symbols, produce bending list, and that everything is done according to the Norwegian standard. If you want to have a trial version, you can contact me. Here you see my email address. Do not hesitate writing in Norwegian. I can read Norwegian. It's only problems when I need to speak it. I can't pronounce any of your letters, so my Norwegian sounds pretty funny. Anyway, write emails if you want the trial version, or if you have any questions regarding the ISY CAD Rebar, direct to me.